Travis Wayne did so. I don't know if you remember doing this as a child, or if you've had children and you've seen it done with them, or other children who have done it. It's part of role-playing that children do. That they'll watch a Disney show or some other movie, or you'll read them a book, and it leaves an impression upon them so greatly that they want to pretend to be such a character. I remember myself being so impressed with Superman that mixed with the Mormon church, I thought, well, if I have faith strong enough, I can fly. Went up onto the roof of our single-story house, thank goodness, and would jump off the roof. And of course, I was at least smart enough to jump onto the grass below. But that's the kind of deception that we have as children, is that we pretend to be others than what we are, whether it's human or animal or whatever. And the part of the childish nature of it is that we demand and expect others to accept and go along with our delusional fantasies. And so, if you're a princess, you demand others accept you and call you a princess. Or in the case of Superman, I'm Superman. Oh yeah? Let's find out if you can handle getting shot. If you saw the movie by M. Night Shyamalan, Unbreakable, as Bruce Willis's son says, oh, let's find out. I'm going to search for that video clip for the description. And we're supposed to grow out of that phase. We're supposed to move on, become adults, become reasonable, rational. We're supposed to learn logical argument and kick out all of the fallacious thinking processes that we had as children. We're no longer supposed to use fallacy for our arguments. We're supposed to use logic. And unfortunately, the United States is under attack with misinformation and disinformation that is causing Americans, not just MAGA, although MAGA accuses liberals of being this childish behavior of anti-science when it suits their purposes to attack, and likewise liberals attack MAGA for the obvious blatant display of anti-science, anti-truth. Because we're supposed to be taught science in school. That's supposed to be a core curriculum. We're not supposed to be teaching religion to replace science. Now, that hasn't stopped religions from trying to do it, and they use the incorrect translation of the Bible to do it, not accepting that the Bible is translated incorrectly. And when you get involved in the research that I got involved with, you realize that they the current scholarship still needs to keep going back to the Egyptians for the source of religion. But all that is identified through science and technology in the different fields. And so, as I hear in the news about lawsuits and judgments that are promoting anti-science, anti-truth, it becomes very disturbing. Evangelicals in 1900 tried to force the government to have equal time for Christian creationism to be taught in the school system. And they lost. But I'm hearing that in some places in the United States, the theory of evolution is being taught. Now, the theory of evolution is different from evolutionary theory. I hope people understand that difference. Evolutionary theory is simply a man and a woman have offspring. They are similar, but they're linked with the difference. That's evolution, is descendants and changes. And so, even though I have the same DNA from my mother and my father, that combination creates a synergistic effect in me. And it creates a different synergistic effect in my siblings. And so I don't look exactly like them, but we share DNA. But there's a difference. That's evolutionary theory, not the theory of evolution. Theory of evolution takes it too far into the fallacy range and says we came from chimps, and that those chimps came from fish, and those fish came from amoebas, and those amoebas came from the Big Bang. The reason why they're fallacious is because in science, when you develop a theory, the theory needs to be testable. And it can't just be the one scientist doing all the testing. It has to be made possible for other scientists to fact check. And so the scientist needs to lay out specifically the whole paperwork, so that other scholars can then use that information and replicate their own test to make sure it's legitimate. And it can't be a self-fulfilling prophecy or other types of fallacies. They have to work together to come up with truth, reality, logic. And so with the Big Bang, yeah, there's no way we're ever going to replicate it. But to hear them say, oh, well, we don't dare replicate it because we'll destroy the universe and blah, blah, blah. You don't want us to do it. Yeah, isn't that convenient? And likewise with chimps. There is no DNA connection. Again, I told you how evolutionary theory works. There is no link to chimpanzees. And so there may be an outward appearance similarity. There's a 4% difference in DNA. If you know anything about percentages within the different animals. And you may think, well, that's not very big. No, it's huge. In regards to DNA, there's only like a 2% difference in humans. And so for people to be racist, yeah, that's a crime, because you're denying science in your abuse. And so when we get to the church, because we got to talk about the church, don't we? Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You have stories about the origin, about Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ in the 1838 version, which has been canonized, who come from outer space in a pillar of light and hover in the air, appearing to Joseph Smith, who is able to declare they have bodies of flesh and bone, but are exalted. There's some problems. There's some science denial going on. So is Joseph Smith frauding us? Or is there something else that we need to connect? And are there any other records that could help us with that? Yeah. But again, if you're going to live in fantasy land and make what is non-scientific a science denial, a truth denial, and call it truth, call it science that we just don't know yet, we just haven't figured out how to test it. You test Heavenly Father and Jesus by Heavenly Father and Jesus actually appearing to regular humans. Oh, why can't they do it? Joseph Smith wasn't baptized. Joseph Smith wasn't washed and anointed in the temple. Joseph Smith wasn't presented to the veil to pass through the veil to enter into the presence of Heavenly Father and Jesus and not require the burning effect of looking into the Ark of the Covenant. As Indiana Jones said, close your eyes. And so, yeah, there's lots of things. Movies love to be anti-science, but that's what makes them fun. We're not supposed to believe that such things are possible. Now, in science fiction, yeah, we are able to produce some stuff, but when it comes to the brass plates, again, we're dealing with anti-science, anti-truth, because supposedly Moroni, because Mormons refuse to accept the original documents that are in the Joseph Smith papers, that it was Joseph Smith, and believe that he likewise, pillar of light, hovered in the air, he was resurrected apparently. You know, again, which doctrine are we supposed to have, Mormons? Learning of the Jews, or a Christian Mormon hybrid mix? Because that's what the church has done with the origin story of Joseph Smith. Body of flesh and bones means he has to follow the laws of physics, but he's supernatural, hovering in the air without the aid of anything else, beams of light, all this stuff, coming from outer space without a spacesuit and any kind of protection. And you can say, oh, it's just science we haven't found out yet. No. It has to be replicatable. Otherwise, you have to dismiss it. And like I said, there are other supporting documents that alter what is being mentioned there, so that we're not supposed to understand it as an actual literal event in history. But if you're going to deny science and demand that everybody accept it as anti-science, anti-truth, you're behaving like a child. Literally. The proof of the Book of Mormon does not exist. There are no plates. So why are you demanding we all accept your version of reality as real? You're acting like a child and demanding everybody else believe you and accept you for who you're not. There's a sensitive subject that I'm purposely avoiding, but it's becoming dominant as Utah passed such a law yesterday. Like I said, all Americans are falling victim to the anti-science, anti-truth, demanding everybody else accept anti-science, anti-truth. It needs to stop. You can't just say you want science for what benefits you and then deny science for what you think benefits you. It doesn't benefit you. Science and truth and logic all must be employed together because we can see the effects and consequences of being anti-science, anti-truth. Likewise with the church, as we see Mormons who are anti-Christ-like in demanding even to physical violence and death threats to have other people accept Mormonism. It's got to stop.